Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I just wanted to do a little bit of sort of live reactions and stuff to the Gears 5 tech test, as well as talk a little bit more about some of these 48% sales drops for Xbox consoles. As you guys join in, please like and share out the video. I would definitely appreciate it. And, I'm going to get to it. Uh, you know, Apologies again because MNC or the MNC show, we usually do that on Sundays. The problem is our producer Sully. He had a computer problem, a PC problem, and his part's going to be here by Wednesday, and he'll have it up and running. So we'll be back next Sunday afternoon, where Mooch and Crap will be able to do it. The other thing is, you know, thankfully it comes at a little bit of a slower time for gamers and things like that because there's not a lot of news right now. But I think we're going to ramp up and we're going to start getting more and more news and leaks and stuff like that for the PS5 and Xbox Scarlet, as well as different games and stuff like that. So much appreciated for you guys coming out. And if you wouldn't mind liking and sharing this out. Sometimes YouTube doesn't do a great job of that, so I'd appreciate it if you guys could help me out with a little bit. And I'll certainly be taking some questions and stuff by the time this is over as well. Eddie, I hear you. Tech test. I get it, right? What's up, Neverland? They're testing it. But here's the problem that I have with that whole tech test situation. Usually a test, or remember when Gears 4, they tested the game, they beta tested it like 8-9 months out in advance. They're testing this 4 to 5 weeks out in advance, meaning how can they possibly get this problem fixed by the time the game launches? Not only is the problem of tech tests or whatever, the issue where you can't find a match for 5 or 6 hours, literally, that's what the queue says. Then the problem that I have is that the game itself is very much so a game that's going to actually rely on putting you against PC players. This is something that I have a big issue with for a very long time. And this is nothing new. I know people are going to go, oh, Crap's on one of his Xbox hater rants or whatever. No. You can go back at any particular point, and I was always very wary of this PC crossplay stuff because Microsoft really just wants everybody to play together, regardless of how fair it is to you or unfair it is to you. So they don't really care. Now, here's the truth of the matter. When you play Gears of War 5, okay, when you play ranked matches, that's automatically enabled to crossplay with PC. You can turn that off, though, but that's the only one you can turn off. When you play anything that's unranked, anything like the new arcade mode, anything casual, anything unranked, you're forced to play with PC players. And not only are you forced to play with PC players who can use keyboard and mouse, let me say the arcade mode, holy crap, because it's not Nasher based, it's very much like long range weapon based, depending. It's kind of like gun game. Think about that. So they have a huge advantage. They are just cleaning up in these game modes because they have a huge advantage. They're not having to wall bounce or do any kind of close combat. They're just far away using a mouse and keyboard and sort of winning very easily. And you have absolutely no way to disable this. So that is something that I am very concerned about, especially what happens if they decide to do this with Halo as well. I really think that it's going to be a problem for every game going forward because Microsoft just doesn't want to disable that. Look at, for instance, Sea of Thieves. That's not even a competitive game, mind you, but we're already seeing that they drag their feet with kind of getting rid of the crossplay situation. So that's something that's actually pretty disappointing to hear, that Microsoft has no plans right now to actually get rid of that. So that's something that we're gonna have to deal with going forward. And you might go, oh, well, what's the deal? I believe that's exactly how it is with Gears of War 4, meaning the rank stuff you can disable crossplay, which I do, but with the unranked stuff you have no real choice of selection, and that's a bit of a problem. I think that that's something that is wrong. The other thing that I kind of wanted to point out was, even though I'm not a fan of Fortnite has the ability to recognize your input device. Okay, so if you have an input device that's keyboard and mouse, you are going to go against other people who are playing keyboard and mouse, most likely PC. And they keep it fair. If you're playing on mobile, you can play against Switch, but you can't play Switch versus console or Switch versus PC because it's unfair. Why isn't Microsoft, who are like the kings of this stuff, Windows and consoles their thing, why haven't they been able to sort of figure this out? So I think that that's a little something that people should keep an eye on as well going forward. Also, I want to point out something that I do believe but have not tested myself yet. So keyboard and mouse, speaking of keyboard and mouse, I believe Gears 5 fully supports keyboard and mouse on Xbox One, meaning people can just boot up their keyboard and mouse into their console and play this game, and it's not going to mix you with other keyboard and mouse players. You're going to be able to play against people in a controller. This is like a huge advantage. I can remember years ago, internally, Microsoft were testing PC versus console Gears of War players, and the PC players with keyboard and mouse absolutely slaughtered the console players, and that's why they stopped that whole initiative to begin with. And now they're just open to it again for some reason. I don't understand it, because I understand that Microsoft is trying to draw in more players to Gears of War. The problem with Gears of War is it's a very hardcore game. The only people left on Gears of War 4 are the super hardcore of the hardcore. Very, very good players. So when you go find a match, you're most likely going to get the crap kicked out of you. Usually when it comes to most Gears games, I'm okay to average, I guess. I can kind of hold my own, but I don't have that time to invest, the 3-4 hours a day into Gears of War anymore. So it's just something that I kind of want to pick up and do a few matches here or there, but I don't really fancy going out there and getting my butt whipped, time and time again. So it's going to be, it's going to be a pretty interesting situation to see how that works out, because right now, as it launches, as they've announced, I have two options when I play multiplayer. I can play ranked matches, get my butt kicked by tryhards, or I can play unranked matches and get my butt kicked by people with keyboard and mouse on PC. And I have no option to disable that. So in an age of quote unquote options, I do not understand why we don't have the option to turn it around, right? That's what I want to talk about. Eddie says, talk about how Gears 5 looks. I think Gears 5 looks fine. I mean, I don't think it looks amazing. But again, whenever you look at a multiplayer aspect of a game, they always kind of sort of do a good job of getting these games to run at whatever spec they want to. So Gears 5, I guess, runs at 10 or 4K 60 in the multiplayer. So obviously it takes the hit. You don't have the detail as much as you would in like the campaign, although the campaign runs at 4K 60 as well. So I don't know. I'm sure it looks fine to me. I mean, it looks more like more Gears, like it is what it is. I don't think it doesn't look super horrible to me, but it doesn't look like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever to me either. It's just Gears, which I think is fine. I actually think the controls are better in this Gears than previous ones. They're more responsive. The problem is I'm getting totally smacked by people with these like amazing skills, apparently, that can like hit you from across the map. Like I don't get that part of it. That's definitely one of those things with the mouse and keyboard, definitely not something that I'm a fan of. So hopefully, Microsoft can kind of address that and kind of get that worked out, because I know for me personally, I'm not a fan of not being able to disable that. Like I get it, right? They want people to do this, and most people are going to be kind of too stupid to even realize what's going on, right? Because let's just face the facts. That's what's happening right now. It's enabled by default, even in ranked, and you have to go in and disable it. So that's a bit of a problem. And Microsoft doesn't care, because they want you to do crossplay. They want that to happen, because what's going to happen when, if they ever decide to drop a console, they're going to want people to be able to play against each other, whether it be on a streaming versus PC or what have you. So they just want to mix everybody together. And I thought they would have handled this a little bit better, maybe like how they do Fortnite. And so far, that's not exactly the case. So I am a little bit wary of that. And I do think that they will, I think that they'll be able to sort that out if enough people kind of bring that up. I know some people are like, when they hear that you can't disable that, get pretty upset about it. So we'll have to see how that sort of, sort of figure that stuff out. What rank am I? I'm ranked 3 in the tech test. So I haven't played it a super bunch because I can't really get into games. The couple games that I got into, I did okay, I guess, until you get to the point where you get smacked by like the PC crowd or whatever. So hopefully I can get into some more games a little bit later. But, where's the rest of the this isn't an MNC show. Mooch is busy, I think, doing something. And Sully, his computer's broke, so he wasn't able to actually run the show to be able to get it going. So we'll be back next Sunday, I think around noon on Mooch's channel. And then, we'll be back every single week after that. So we're definitely going to be able to hook that up for you guys. So please hit the like button. I appreciate it. Hold on. I'm going to talk a little bit about some more. What did you guys think of the tech test? Let me know if you guys in it. How long did it take you guys to finally get into a room? And have you guys had any problems with like the long range weapons with PC players? Because I'm seeing a lot of people complain about it. but I can't see Microsoft not responding. Like I've tweeted Rod and Mike Ibarra and Phil a bunch of times, and nobody's really said anything. Eddie Bear says, "Crap, are you getting Scarlet?" I am not getting Scarlet as of right now. There is absolutely no need for Scarlet for me at this particular point, just because my console, the Xbox One X, hasn't even been fully utilized. What would make me think Scarlet would be utilized? In terms of the power and great games. Halo, I'll probably be able to play 4K 60 on my X, and I don't foresee them having any launch titles that would surprise me enough to go, oh, you should definitely get this. So I think that the PlayStation 5 is a day one for me. I'm a big VR fan. I like that kind of stuff. Those exclusives are going to be amazing on the PlayStation 5. And I think Microsoft just plans to launch again, probably with Halo Infinite. It seems like it'll be a good game, but again, the crossplay with PC, I'm going to think that they're going to actually have that on there again, and that's a little bit of a bummer. Neverland says, "Are you going to buy Multiplex next gen on PS5?" I think some of them. I think it depends on the game. Like, if my friends stick to Xbox, I'll probably just play Call of Duty on Xbox or something. But like Control, the game that's coming out, I'm gonna get that on PS4 Pro. It's got exclusive missions on the PlayStation version. So I do like the idea that if I can get time content or some kind of content specific to a platform, I'll get it on that platform. So I'm going to really look forward to getting that or whatever. Rob says, yeah, those day one exclusives will be great, just like Knack and Killzone on the PS4. Hey, Rob, I was the one that bought an Xbox One for the exclusives at launch, right? Because I agree with you. And then what happened a year and a half into the generation, Microsoft stopped making anything new. Like there was no more AAA exclusives announced after 2015. So literally a year and a half into the generation, boom, they stopped creating games. Sony has never done that. In fact, when they were getting their butts kicked with the PS3, they tripled down with the exclusives and started making a ton of PS3 exclusives. So I really thought that it was going to be the same situation with Microsoft, but they decided not to. And again, Microsoft, they claim that their Xbox One sales are dropping 48% because people are tired of this generation and they want next gen, right? But why is the Switch and the PS4 still selling? And I'm sure that the PS4 has dropped a little bit, and we'll hear about that, I think, in the next week, because I think their investor call is like the 29th or something. But why is it that the PS4 won't have dropped 48%? No freaking way. So people still want a PS4. People still want a Switch. But why don't people want an Xbox One? Can you guys in the chat tell me that? Please let me know. I would love to know what you guys think in the chat. Why is the Xbox One drop 48% in sales year over year, but not the PS4 or the Switch? In fact, the Switch is up year on year. Of course, that's newer. But when you look at it, the Xbox One X, that's new too. That's only less than 2 years old. So why is it then that we have the situation where the Microsoft Damage Control Board is saying, hey, people are ready for next gen? Could it be that Microsoft doesn't have any games? Like, this is the thing that I've been saying all along. If you have exclusive content, you can sell your console better. And I feel like Microsoft doesn't realize that exclusive content really does a good job at selling your platform. In fact, I just got Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 on the Nintendo Switch. And I'm very excited for Death Stranding on the PS4. So, I think that a lot of people are going to be getting those consoles for the rest of this year, especially the holiday. I mean, look at the Amazon Prime sales, right? The Xbox Sat Edition wasn't able to beat the PS4 bundles or the Nintendo Switch bundles. When you look at the total ranking on the sales charts on Amazon, what ranked in first and second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, whatever, both were ahead of the Xbox. So even at complete lackluster in terms of sales, and again, the bundles that Sony had, Horizon Zero Dawn and Spider-Man and God of War was on sale for like $14.99 or something. Those things were all way up there. Microsoft selling a Minecraft bundle or something like that is like absolutely ridiculous. Like, no wonder people are going to buy the PlayStation 4. You don't have any software to put with your Xbox. Like, people want great software. And then people will trash Days Gone but it's the 7th best-selling game of 2019 in the US. People want to talk about how exclusives don't matter, but Spider-Man goes out there and is the best-selling superhero game and is only on one platform and beat out Arkham City, which is on 5 platforms. So that should pretty much kind of go to show you exactly what's going on in terms of what Microsoft is doing. Fun Creator says Xbox Ad is officially the worst console in history. Followed up, just not to show my fanboy side. I feel like even though it's not a console, the PSP Go, that was probably right up there with how bad the SAT edition is. If you're not unfamiliar with the PSP Go is, it was a digital only PSP that like folded out or something. And it was so ridiculous. Like, it came so late at the end of the generation that people were not interested in it at all. And that's basically the case with the SAT edition. It's like you can get the S for the same price. And so people aren't kind of going out there and, they're not very excited to go pick up this SAT edition. So, you like the PSP Go, Rob? Oh, I didn't know, man. I didn't know they were fans. I still have my original PSP, and I like the PSP. I thought it was a really good handheld. They did a really good job with that. I like the Vita as well. I think I'm probably in the minority that actually likes the Vita. But again, I just don't have time. The Vita games that I played, believe it or not, most of them were because I was very interested in the game. So I like Uncharted. So there was an Uncharted game exclusive to Vita. I played that, but I played that at home. Like I really got into that game and thought it was a good story and stuff. And interesting story is Sony Bend, the makers of Days Gone, actually made that Uncharted game. And I guess they were porting it to PS3 at one point or PS4 at one point, but had to stop or something because they were making Days Gone. But the funny thing is that game was so good. And I don't really have time, like when I'm on the go or whatever, so I've never really been one to go this big proponent of, let me play something mobile or whatever. I don't even play mobile games on a phone or anything. I have like a 3DS and a Vita and a PSP and a regular DS. But I play it when I was ever into any big games on there, like any games that super interest me. It was always like I was playing games at home, just because they were really good games. And I think that's probably a big difference between me. I do think that there is probably a group of people out there that would play games on the go on their phone or whatever. But I think that it's going to be a little bit more of a fad and not this big, like 200 billion or 2 billion gamers thing that Microsoft has like in their head, where they believe that, all these people are going to just come flocking to xCloud or whatever. 9Live says PS4 has sold 100 million consoles. Of course, any game is going to sell well on the PS4. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say any game. I would just say that because if you look at it, I guess Detroit Become Human didn't sell incredibly well on the PS4, which is a shame because it probably had the best story of any game on the PS4, even God of War. I just think that, it just depends. Like people really want those big AAA games, and I think that Detroit is a AAA game, but it's not like a big AAA gameplay type of game. So people had like a tough time with that or whatever, and I can understand that. I think that that's very understandable. For Microsoft, they haven't had anything in a very, very long time in terms of like big times exclusives or whatever. Let's see. AP Cool J says the truth really hurts. It's sad. I'm still happy because I don't care anymore. I don't know who you're talking to, but yeah, I don't know. Hey, anyway, hit that like button, guys. I'm going to get to over 100 likes. Again, I want to apologize for no M&C today, but I wanted to do this quick one and kind of talk about the Gears Tech Test and these Xbox One sales. So obviously, it's the end of a console generation, and I linked this. Microsoft did their quarterly earnings report, and they revealed that its gaming revenue was down 10%. Of its fiscal 2019, and it points to Xbox One hardware sales for the bulk of the decline. Gaming division generated $233 million less than the same period last year. The 10% decline came primarily from a 48% drop in revenues from hardware. Microsoft said was due to selling fewer Xbox Ones, but it also saw a drop in revenue from games as well. So it's not just the hardware; they're also losing sales on games. Xbox software and services declined 3% against a high prior year comparable from third-party title, which was obviously had to do with Fortnite. I guess Fortnite is down a little bit for Microsoft, so they weren't doing as much. Obviously, it is the end of the generation. We're going to get new consoles, but the Xbox One is selling really poorly right now, like incredibly poorly compared to other Xboxes. Like, I don't understand it. Even the Xbox 360 continued to sell pretty well after the One was announced or whatever. So you're kind of surprised that, people might go, well, Microsoft maybe announced the Xbox Scarlet a little bit too soon. Hey, we all knew Scarlet was coming. I mean, that's not really a surprise. I would just say that the biggest kind of surprise that we have is that Microsoft actually kind of was struggling before they even announced it. They were months this year, I believe, where they didn't top 100,000 units sold. So that's pretty bad. You have to take that into kind of consideration or whatever. And I know like Phil and them, they don't really care because people would bring up, well, subscriptions, blah, blah, blah. The funny thing is subscriptions were down 3%, even though they had more subscribers. So that leads you to believe two things, right? Because Xbox Live, they're like 65 million Xbox Live users. But you have to remember that they're talking about a high point in free PC people, free mobile PC people as well. So you can create an account for free. If you're using Minecraft on a phone, you're an Xbox Live user. You're not paying anything, but you're an Xbox Live user. Same thing with like PC. You can create a Xbox account or whatever, but it's not like you're you're not really paying into anything. So that's kind of like this number that they like to say out there, 65 million. And even if you go by account user 65 million, Sony is 20 million ahead of that, or 30 million actually, because I think Sony was at like 96 million. So 65 million to 96 million, that's like 30 million more for Sony, and that's not even Sony's metric for the most part. Sony mostly just talks about like sales. They've sold over 1 billion pieces of software, which is like the most ever in the history of console gaming. The attach rate for the PlayStation 5 is like insane. I think the attach rate on Xbox was pretty good, but the fact that it's not really selling games like they used to is a bit of a problem as well. So, I was just brought this up as well. So you guys want to also know what could be affecting this new high number of Xbox Live users is the bot accounts. So I get this quite a bit, and somebody just reminded you, thanks to my buddy Turks. I guess he's listening. I appreciate that. He says, don't forget the bot accounts that message you on Xbox Live. So all these bot accounts, whatever, I don't know who's behind these bot accounts that are just like, what you doing and all this kind of stuff. Those accounts and stuff, those ones are all counted as an Xbox Live thing as well, even though they're fake accounts. They're still created accounts, and they count them. So they've had this big spike. I don't know if that's going to drive, millions of things, but it is something that, people should probably be aware of as well. Like if you, if you've gotten any of these kind of messages or whatever, then they obviously count as Xbox Live users. So that's something that Microsoft probably needs to fix and kind of take care of before anything else. And I'm not saying that 65 million isn't good, but let's be real, that's not 65 million paying Xbox Live subscribers. I wouldn't even begin to venture how many actual Xbox Gold subscribers they have, maybe 20 million. I think overall a good estimate of Xbox Live, Xbox One owners is probably about 35 million. Maybe 38 if if you want to get kind of technical about it, but I don't think that there's 38 million active Xbox Ones right now. I think that there's probably much less than that, and probably about 20 to 25 million Xbox Live Gold users. So there is that to kind of consider as well. And that's my own conjecture, by the way. I'm not saying that for sure. I haven't heard that. I'm just saying, that's exactly what I believe, right? Because, and the reason why I believe this is because when I've played Call of Duty lately or Gears of War 4 lately, I tend to get mashed into rooms with the same people a lot. Even if I leave and then come back later or whatever, it's usually the same people, or like, and it's not good. It's not, Xbox Live isn't what it used to be in terms of like this great place where you would just find so many different players. Like I can remember particular times on the Xbox 360 where if you played, I think, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 or maybe even the first one, they had a total number of players active in the game at that time. And there were particular times where there was like 3 million people on that game on Xbox Live. And that's pretty damn incredible if you ask me. Now they've cut all that kind of stuff out. Like they don't tell you how many people are playing the games anymore. And I get why it did it, because there's obviously not a ton of people. That's probably why they're pushing a lot of a lot of crossplay and stuff like that now. So we do kind of got to deal with that. If you guys could hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. Xbox enthusiast says, "Come on, crap, get back to your Xbox fanboy self once again. Gee up." Listen, if Gears is great, I think I'll say it's great, man. Like from what I played, I think the multiplayer has a lot of traction. It could be really good. The main problem that I have with it, my friend, is the whole PC stuff, right? Which is something I've been against for many years, and it's not anything new. Let's get rid of the PC crossplay and let people decide for themselves. Or you don't have to get rid of it because some people don't care. I care though, right? Like it's easy to tell when somebody's hitting you from across the map and you can't really get away or get a beat on anything. You know, you pop your head, you're gone. You know, because they have a huge advantage with a mouse, obviously with the aiming. So, excuse me, just took a drink, my friends. But yeah, so Microsoft is blaming, the end of the generation. They say people are ready for, they call it console fatigue. They're tired of the Xbox One. They're fatigued on it because they're waiting for next generation. I kind of made a joke the other day on Twitter that people must have been console fatigued in 2013 where the Xbox is concerned because nobody's really buying the Xbox One and hasn't been buying the Xbox One for a pretty good long about a time. So, there is that sort of to kind of look at as well. I think Microsoft, they have this idea that all these people are going to be attracted to them based on cloud and all this kind of stuff. I'm not sure if that's going to be the actual case. We'll have to see how it goes. Hold on. I'm trying to see. Hold on. Ivo says, so is Gears 5 a bad game or is the multiplayer just bad? Hold on. I think Gears 5 is going to be a good game overall. I just think that the whole mixture of the PC crossplay stuff where you're forced to use it without an option to disable it, except for ranked, is a mistake. And it's going to help people to thin out within a very short amount of time. So if they don't fix it, that game will be dead for all except for like the super hardcore within 2 months. Like you're looking at another Crackdown 3 situation. And the reason being is because if you're new to that series, right, and you're playing the online, like the last thing you want to do is play ranked because you're going to get smacked around. And if you play the non-ranked, you're still going to get smacked around because it doesn't differentiate the keyboard and mouse versus the controller. So yeah, you can't really do anything. It's kind of sucks or whatever. So I think that the movement is much better and much smoother. And I think the servers, when they're straightened out or whatever, are pretty good. But at the same time, you absolutely have to think about adding the disable option for that. I know Microsoft is like refusing to do that for things, but I absolutely do not understand why. So there was also this bit of thing that the Microsoft CEO, and they're kind of full of themselves, right? Like at no point in time, this to me, what Microsoft brings up in their investor call sort of reminds me of, Mike Tyson, I think, beat Michael Spinks in like a minute 28 seconds or whatever. And this would be like after, like Microsoft is Michael Spinks after they were beat, coming back and go, oh, well, I'm positioned to be champion again in a much larger boxing market. Like to me, Microsoft's like, well, we're well positioned for what's going to be a much larger gaming market according to Microsoft. So obviously, they have this whole ecosystem stuff with Xbox and PC, although they seem to almost totally omit the Xbox when they talk about this stuff. They're very confident in this position. There was a quarterly investors call where Satya Nadella said that Game Pass and xCloud, among other things, they're primed to continue to grow in what they think is going to be a hugely expanded gaming market in the coming years, while also citing the upcoming xCloud public trials, the increasing user base of Xbox Live, the launch of the Minecraft Earth game, and the portfolio of first-party studios. He says, and I quote, "We're investing to empower the world's 2 billion gamers," again with that 2 billion stuff, 2 billion gamers to play the games they want with anyone, anywhere, on any device with our new game streaming service. Project xCloud will enter public trials this fall. Xbox Live monthly active users increased to a record 65 million, with the highest number of mobile and PC users to date. So he's admitting that this increase is mostly thanks to mobile and PC users, right? So I'm not sure what have bumped up the PC users thing, but it is a little bit strange. He says, we're bringing one of the world's most popular video games to a new generation of mobile gamers with Minecraft Earth and mixed reality, and we have nearly doubled our first-party studios this year to deliver differentiate content to our fast-growing subscription services like Xbox Game Pass, now available both on consoles and PC. Weird that he says consoles, but okay. He says, I'll say we are in gaming because of what we believe are going to be the secular changes in the gaming addressable market for us. He went on to say, we've also had a gaming position with consoles as well as the PC, but going forward, we think that at any endpoint can in fact be a great endpoint for high-end games, which is where our structural position is. And we now have a business model with Game Pass as we all the supporting mechanisms for Game Pass like game streaming. We have a social network in Xbox Live that is the best in the business. So I feel we're well positioned to do what is going to be a much larger market than what was traditionally gaming, in spite of all the success we've had over the years in gaming. So obviously he's talking about the second point is that it builds on the rest of the xCloud investment. So if you think about it, we're going to be doing with xCloud, it's a workload on top of Azure. If you think about capital allocation, what's happening in the cloud, what's happening in the edge, how we have to build a network, how we optimize with streaming, the same infrastructure, for example, is what Sony has decided to use as well, and be on Azure as well as other AI capabilities. So they're very confident or whatever, and I understand that. But as far as I'm concerned, the fact that they don't even really mention Xbox like per se is a little bit unfortunate. I think that is sort of one of my big problems with Xbox at this particular time is they're not really talking about Xbox the console itself. It's always like, well, we have this end game, and we have this end game for we have streaming, we have all this other stuff, and this is what we're going to be doing. They never sit there and talk about, oh, well, we have this or this, and Xbox. It's always, oh, well, if there's an end game, we can use streaming service, or we could do this or we could do that. And I feel like that's really kind of sad for us Xbox fans that have actually been doing our thing with the console for a very long time. And I don't think that the console per se is going anywhere anytime super soon. I just feel like it's one of those things where it could potentially go away if it sucks tremendously, right? Like if Xbox Scarlet sales are really, really bad, I just think that I could see Microsoft pulling the content off of that and just going, okay, well, we tried. We're not going to do any more consoles. We'll continue to support this for years to come, but we're not going to make another console. I could see them doing that. And if that's a big thing with, streaming as well, like that could be a big problem if streaming actually does take off, which I'm not completely sure that it will. I actually think that streaming is going to kind of fail pretty hard, and I hope that doesn't affect the Xbox console itself. What I mean by that is I hope if streaming does fail, that Microsoft doesn't decide to pull the plug on gaming in general. So that's like one of those things where you kind of hope that Microsoft doesn't jump out of the console industry, but at the same time, you don't want streaming to be super successful because that could lead to it too. So basically what I'm saying is it's almost a catch-22. If streaming takes off and does phenomenally well, does Microsoft leave the console business and just go to streaming? Eventually, like that's what people think anyway. And if it fails, are they out of the console business because they see no room for growth for these quote unquote 2 billion gamers? Like in my opinion, it would have been much smarter just to, if you want to attack mobile, have some developers make just mobile stuff that makes sense. You don't have to put all your games on mobile, in my opinion. I feel like that's something that is, very, very smart, would have been very smart to do. Sort of like what Nintendo does, right? They put a Pokemon game specifically for mobile out. Even though Microsoft is doing that with Minecraft Earth, I feel like it would have been smart for them to do more like that, like Master Chief Adventures or whatever. I don't know, point and click Master Chief game or something. Like that would have been very smart. Do experiences just for PC or whatever, and I think that would have been smart as well. So it's just one of those things that I feel is sort of strange that Microsoft is kind of doing or not doing, and I hope that they actually go out of their way and make some stuff for consoles to make console guys feel happy again. Or, because I can't say, why can't they go and do both or whatever? Maybe they can. I want to be happy again with Xbox. That's the bottom line. I think that there needs to be content. I just don't think that they've had the content this generation. Maybe that changes, man. Maybe that's something that they can change in the near future. Get that content back rolling, and then everybody will be happy. That's what I'm hopeful for, because you need them to be really, really competitive with Sony at the end of the day. And I feel like if they're competitive and Sony's competitive with each other, then we as gamers all win. Hey, if you guys are just joining me, please hit the like button and share it out. I would definitely appreciate it. I'd like to get over 100 likes if you wouldn't mind. Ned Flanders says Scarlet is Microsoft's last console. They are only producing this to secure their Game Pass. Okay. I mean, I could understand that. They're definitely going after something with Scarlet. I think that the only reason they're doing Scarlet is because they still make over $2 billion a year off of, they still make $2 billion a year off of the Xbox Live Gold, which we're the only ones that pay gold, by the way. And we get absolutely nothing in return for that because all the good games go in Game Pass. So that's another subscription that we have to pay to get those good games. So to me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for us to play gold. We're paying for the right to play online, but PC don't have to pay that. I'm assuming xCloud doesn't have to pay that. And I feel like that kind of sucks. You know what I mean? One of the things that used to be a bonus for us turned into like this thing where we get a bunch of indie games, and I'm not about the indie games. I think that there are certain people that like these types of indie games and stuff that we get, but I'm not exactly one of them. So I don't know. But when it comes to the tech test, man, I'm gonna hop off here in a little bit and play some more of it. Maybe you guys are around or whatever. Have me added to Xbox Live or whatever. We can maybe hop in a game or something a little bit later. I think me and Mooch might try to stream as well and do something just to kind of show you guys what's going on with that game. I hope that the game is good, and I hope that at the end of the day that we get the best possible Gears game. I think that the game, the campaign should look better in terms of the graphics and stuff like that. So I just think that it really comes down to how this thing performs overall. So hopefully we get a great performing game. 4K 60 would be that's great. We don't see a lot of that in the world of gaming these days. So they obviously put some time and care into it, which would be good because if you're an Xbox fan, you're probably used to developers kind of half-assing their games. We get like State of Decay 2 with terrible graphics or Crackdown 3 with terrible graphics. Or some kind of stylized graphics that kind of suck or whatever. So I hope that we continue to get developers to put a time and effort into it. And I hope this just isn't one of those situations where they're chasing trends with the whole woke movement or whatever by switching characters. That's a main concern for mine as well. I won't know till I actually play the game. Thank goodness for Game Pass. As for the multiplayer stuff, I'm hoping there's enough time to change the toggle switch for on and off on PC gaming because I don't want to be able to do that as well. Reviews, I'll just join. Hit me up. Okay, Talos, I appreciate it. Gears 5 is awesome. Hello, says Iceman. Iceman, man, I don't. Did you run into like the PC players though? Was that a problem for you on the game? Like I've been just getting smacked from across the map. I don't even have a chance. And I know that it's not just people with better aim than me because you don't even see them because another problem with PC is they have field of view, FOV, which they can control. And that's a bit of a bummer because that's a huge advantage for them as well. So for me personally, it's kind of a lose-lose situation. I just want to be a little bit more fair, and at least give us a chance, so that we can do something, like have a little bit of fun anyway. So I really do hope that we can get some kind of stability there and be able to disable that. So that's a bit of a problem. Hey, Rich, what's going on? Nice to see you here. Please hit the like button. I would appreciate that. He says, hey, Crap, have you played Gears 5 multiplayer? How was it for me? It was kind of casualized, a bit Call of Duty-fied. Well, I didn't. I liked it. I liked the movements and stuff. I haven't put a terribly amount of time in it. I was getting smacked by PC gamers. The keyboard and mouse thing is a real issue because they don't let you disable it for anything but ranked. So I did have that problem with it, but I felt that the movements were smooth. If you could get rid of that and just play against other people on your same level, I feel like that might be the best Gears multiplayer that there is. Even if they casualized it, obviously they want people to stay around, but I don't feel people are going to stay around. Yeah, hit the like button. I appreciate it. I don't think people are going to stay around with the game if they have to play with PC players because it's becoming obvious that that's a bit more of a problem now. I understand why they did it with Gears of War 4 because nobody was playing it on PC and they were trying to extend the life. And so they're like, hey, let's try this out. But it's quite obvious to me now that people, even Mikey Barra, who was tweeting out screenshots, I guess, he's playing on PC. And why wouldn't you? Because you're going to have an advantage over playing against Xbox guys. So John Gay says Gears 5 looking amazing on OLED and 1440p, 120p, 20 frames per second on PC is amazing. And you have a huge advantage too, don't you, John? Carlos says going PC to get those easy kills and got a PC rig. Exactly, Carlos. That's exactly my point. It's super easy for people to get those kills and to kind of slap around the console gamer. At the end of the day, I just hope that Microsoft gives us the ability to turn that off. Like that's my main thing. Like I think the game can be fine. I really do think that that the game's going to be fun and it's going to do well for Microsoft. I don't think it's going to be like huge like Gears 3 or something, but I do think that it's going to be pretty decent. And I think the fact that it's on Game Pass is probably going to help it reach some players, but I don't think it's going to help it in terms of sales. So I do think that that is something that you have to kind of pay attention to as well. Like I don't think the sales are going to be through the roof or anything, but I think it'll be fine. Depending on what the deal is with the campaign, we could see a problem with maybe we'll get a reboot or something, So yeah, I mean we might see a situation with a reboot or whatever. Hopefully, if that's the case, they go back in a different direction or something like that. I don't know, but at the same time, I think the game will be fine. It's smooth, it's not a terrible game or anything like that. It's not, I'm not going to lie and go, oh, well, it's a terrible game. No, I think the game is fine. It's fluid. It looks okay. It looks like Gears, Gears 4.5 in my opinion, the multiplayer does, but that's to be expected. It's not going to be, it's the same hardware, it's the same generation, so it's not like it's a next generation Gears game. So people kind of get that out of their mind a little bit, but it is it does look good and it's fluid and smooth. So you do have that to kind of look forward to as well. I think that it's going to be fine for what it is. Rich says, hey Crap, have you ever tried going to PC gaming? I've jumped to PC, but played Gears 5 at 60 FPS 4K on Xbox controller. No, I'm not a PC guy, man. I know you can like technically hook it up to your living room TV or whatever, but I just like to kick back in my chair and just play it and watch Hulu or whatever. Like that's the entertainment center in and of itself. So like the consoles are kind of like just a centerpiece to that. So that's what I kind of prefer to do. And so just PC gaming just isn't my thing. I don't like keyboard and mouse. I don't like using them as control schemes. And I know you can use a controller, but again, the same situation is if I use a controller going against people with keyboard and mouse, that's going to be a problem. Iceman says, as long as I can turn off crossplay, I'll be fine with Gears 5. I'm the same way. I think the multiplayer will be great if you can turn it off for all modes. I'm not a guy that has enough time in my life to put a bunch of hours into ranked and get my ass kicked. But if they let us turn that off, I think it would be really fine, to be honest with you. Let's see. What's going on? I'm going to answer some more questions. It's too bad that everyone doesn't have an X. It's night and day. Yeah, I think it looks good on the X, man. I have an X and a 4K TV, so I think the game looks really, really good. I just think that it doesn't look like a next-gen Gears or something like that. People might go into it thinking that it's something or whatever. There's, you know what I'm saying? Online games tend to kind of dumb down what they're doing simply to get a smoother performance because that's what you want out of these games. And I totally get that. They definitely want these games to run smooth. And I think that 60 frames is something that's very, very important. And, and to its credit, I think the game does actually run pretty damn smooth. Like I said, the only problem that I actually have is the fact that this game, it has that crossplay that's forced on every other mode that's not ranked. So I hope that they do fix that before it goes live. I'm going to tweet to Mikey Barra and Rod Ferguson every single day until they address it, because so far they haven't addressed it crap, and I'm kind of unfortunate with it. Yeah, exactly, Rich, man. Look, if people, I have no problem with PC gaming, right? Like people want to game on PC. That's just not for me. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, I used to play stuff like RuneScape or whatever on PC, or Lord of the Rings online. I used to play that game. But it's like for the, I'm not really a PC gamer. I don't like sitting there and, I don't like using a mouse and keyboard. I like to kick back, now, the family man stuff. And, I can't really, it's just not for me. I'm a console guy, and it's just so super easy. You buy it, you unplug it. And I built mine my PC and it's decent. I can probably run most games 1080p 60 pretty easily, maybe even 1440p 60. But I just don't, like I feel like PCs are much easier to build now. I can remember when I had my brother build my first PCs back in the day, they were a lot more complicated. Now it's just like you buy the parts, you can buy a box, a case for your PC, and you basically just snap stuff in, and it's super simple. So I don't think it's super hard to set up a PC. I just think it's not for me in terms of what I like to do in gaming. I just like to kick back with my friends or whatever. So yeah, that's probably never going to happen, even though Microsoft would probably love me to game on PC. Y9 Power says Xbox One X was piss poor marketed with that stupid music. Well, they don't market anything well. If you look at what they've been doing, hey, can you guys get me to over 100 likes? We're about 5 likes away. I would appreciate it. Microsoft wasn't able to really do much in terms of their marketing this entire generation, right? Look at Gears 5. We haven't seen any type of marketing for anything that they've done, right? Like nothing that they've done has really led to great marketing, right? They did really good marketing for Halo 5, I'll admit, but it was totally misleading marketing, right? Like, oh, here's Master Chief. He's being hunted by Locke and blah, blah, blah. And now we look at it and we see, oh, well, that was kind of BS. There was no big showdown between Locke and Master Chief. So that was a bit of kind of a red herring or whatever. It was a little bit bad. Y9 Power says, use their @ names. You don't need to tweet them directly. For example, Phil Spencer insert complaint there. They will get notified. Yeah, I added them or whatever. If I have to, maybe I'll email some people. But I feel like they at least owe it to the fans. Like I know some people might not think it's a big deal, but this is my main complaint. It's my favorite Xbox franchise, and I feel like they're very much catering more towards the PC side because they have nothing to lose from it. They only have stuff to gain, right? PC gamers playing against console gamers, they have everything to gain. It's the Xbox console gamers that have stuff to lose because we're sitting there playing and getting our butts kicked in these games, and it's like it's not a good situation. I feel like it's definitely not a great situation for anybody, to be honest with you. I just hope that we can get a situation where they actually pay attention and listen, because my main problem is they still haven't technically listened for Sea of Thieves, right? Like I believe that crossplay still isn't like turned off from the get-go or whatever, or you can't do it in like the main mode or whatever. So that really kind of put me off on that game a little bit as well. And hopefully they can actually go ahead and fix that, because if it's taken months and months to get rid of crossplay on that, then just imagine what it would take to get rid of crossplay on Gears. By the time they got rid of it on Gears, we might be in a situation where the game's already dead. And I don't want that to happen. I think that it would be a bad situation. I hope that they don't do that. I hope that they actually listen to the fans and kind of pay attention to what's going on, because they talk about options all the time, right? When hasn't Phil and company talked about options? Play anywhere with whoever, blah, blah, blah. Well, if I want to play with whoever, then that means I should be able to disable that and play with just console people, right? Like, why won't they let me just do that? What's the deal? That to me, I will never understand why they force us to play with PC players, but then tout, options, right? If you're going to give us options, hey, give us options. You don't have to BS us with your spiel about options. Just give us great options and people will kind of be fine with it. You know what I mean? So I just really want those options as a gamer, I don't see what the big deal is with giving people the real options instead of just BSing them with fake options or whatever. So that's sort of how I feel about it. I think that hopefully by the end of the day, they actually do kind of fix it and get things going. Let's see. Rich says, this is what makes me angry. Last week, I wanted to play Halo 5 online on my Xbox One, and I couldn't because I didn't have a gold membership yet. I played Gears 5 without it on PC. Yeah, that's a big problem. It's like PC gets all the advantages to Xbox. They can if you have the rig, you can play the games better. Apparently, they're giving you easy kills against console players on Gears and probably Halo. It's a bad situation. You don't got to pay to play. You get Game Pass. It's like you get all the stuff that console gamers get and then some. Spider Silva says, I think Sony will have a big AAA game at launch with the PS5. I think Sony's going to go all out. I think Sony's going to have GT. They're going to have a couple other games. I don't think Horizon Zero Dawn is going to be a launch title. I think Guerrilla Games might be bringing back Killzone, and I think that might be a launch title. Maybe it's a reboot, but I think it makes more sense to launch with a multiplayer title with it'll have a campaign too, but it makes sense for them to do that as opposed to launching with Horizon. Launch Horizon the following year, and I think that gives you a big boost later on. So I think that they're going to announce a lot of stuff, but I don't think all of it doesn't make sense for everything to come out the launch. You want a good 3 to 4 launch titles, but you want to make sure you have stuff that gets people excited for the future as well. That's where Sony really takes off, and you got to give them credit for that. Yeah, Shenmue 3 is not going to console. I see that. But Sony does a really good job at giving people what they want in terms of value in those console sales, right? So they're going to show people stuff that's a couple years out, and people are going to love it. And I also have a feeling that, like, The Last of Us 2 is going to be a game that, like, launches with the PS5 or at least a version of it. So I think that's going to be cool, and that's going to help them. Like Ghost of Tsushima is going to launch with it as well. I think a version of it. So I think you're going to get more for your bang for your buck with that. And I think they're going to launch on PS4 as well. But I just think that it's it's going to be a game franchise that kind of launches pretty well with the with the PlayStation 5. So you're going to get both of those games, probably specific cross-gen versions on the PS5 as well. So, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff to look forward to on the PS5. As for the Xbox Scarlet, everything's going to be backwards compatible. So there is that. Just what are we going to get at launch? I think that's something that people really want to know. Is it just another Halo game? Like, I love Halo, but if it's just another Halo game, is it that big a deal? I don't know. Maybe not. Are they going to do this crossplay stuff like what they're doing with Gears? I hope not. I feel like Microsoft is better than that, and they need to kind of pay attention to what the fans are actually asking for. Like, protect your console gamers a little bit. You're just basically throwing us to the wolves. I feel like we're better than that, and Microsoft doesn't treat us that we're better than that. It's just one of those things where they just kind of treat us like crap a bit with this stuff, like the crossplay stuff, and they don't respond to you when you ask about it. Like, why not respond to the fans? Hey, we want to play games. We don't want to sit there and be stuck with, playing against PC players and getting smacked around because they have a keyboard and mouse and we don't, or we don't want to play like that. So to me, I hope that Microsoft actually listens, and I'm going to do my best to kind of continue to message them and see if they want to pay attention and help the fans get back to a bit more even playing field with the Xbox. So hold on. Ghost of Tsushima coming sooner than people think. I think maybe. I think it might be a cross-gen launch game. If it's not going to come till late 2020 anyway, why not just make it a cross-gen game and a launch game for the PS5 as well? So, that's exactly my point anyway. Just if I were going to do something, that's just probably how I'll do it. Jake says, hey, Crap, how you doing? I have a question. Why do hardcore Xbox fans act so defensive if they think everything is awesome in Xbox land? I think a lot of the Xbox fans are very defensive. Not that I have anything against them, because I think there's a lot of great Xbox people, but it's like they're very defensive because a lot of times, when you're a good way to tell if you're won an argument or if you're winning an argument is if you're perfectly calm in your explanation. Like, I'm perfectly calm when I explain my grievances with Xbox. And I know that I win an argument the minute I'm talking about stuff and I bring up a point and then somebody gets really angry and starts yelling and they get really animated about it. That's when you've won the argument, because they're getting animated and pissed off. So people get pissed off when when you're losing. So that's basically, and the truth hurts. So a lot of these things like really hurts a lot of these guys, when they hear it, because it is the truth, like the truth is Xbox is struggling. And not only is Xbox struggling, but you have a situation where Microsoft is basically ignoring your they're saying they don't care if you buy the console. They're like, our console stopped selling by 50%, but we don't really care about that because our subscribers grew. Right? So they don't care that you're not buying their console at all. They just care that, hey, our subscribers grew, and we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing this or that or the other thing, and I feel like that's a bit of a bummer. You got to treat your people fairly, I think. And I think that Microsoft isn't doing that lately. They used to be in it to win it this generation. Remember back in 2014, Phil Spencer said he wanted to win it. you know, I just feel like that's something that they don't care about anymore. They don't care about winning. They don't care if we buy their console. I would be curious to hear what they do care about in terms of the Xbox console itself. Like, do they care at all about it? I hope that they do. It doesn't sound like they do lately, though, to be honest with you guys. So I hope that they do care about it. I don't know that they do, but hopefully, one of these days we might find out if they decide to keep it or whatever. I hope they decide. My thing is, I guess maybe I'm selfish. I don't know, but I always want to be able to find people to play against that are on the same console as me, and not have to deal with like people on a touchpad or people on a streaming service or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's I just want to be able to play against other people on my console of choice. I don't think there's anything wrong with crossplay, but I just feel like it's not something that I particularly like. So I would much rather just play against other people on my console of choice, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Why should I be chastised or looked down on for that, right? Like that's my main concern and my main thing. So hopefully it's something that they kind of look into and can fix, because I know I'm not the only one. There's other people out there that feel exactly like me. They're like, yeah, man, that PC stuff, it's BS, man. They're out there kicking everybody's butts because they have a mouse and keyboard. And I think that, like, why would Microsoft intentionally give people such a huge advantage over their console fan base? Like, isn't Gears a game that usually does really well for them, on console? So why would they go out of their way to, make it so that it's not doing well on so that console players don't want to play it? Like, that's a problem for me. So hopefully they can get that fixed and work out something. I hope so anyway, because I don't want to be stuck playing against PC players or ranked players as my only option. I think that would totally suck. So, and I know a lot of you guys would probably be pretty bummed out about that too. Hold on, I'm going to answer some more of these questions that I see. Hold on, Ivo, you're bringing up something. He goes, you even called Sea of Thieves his game of the year when he played God of War. He suddenly, Sea of Thieves was never my game of the year. You got to get it right, Ivo. What I said was my multiplayer game of the year, and I called God of War probably the best single player game I've ever played. And Red Dead as well. Red Dead 2 is up there as well. But Sea of Thieves, like, the game itself isn't good. Like, now it's better than it was, but the game itself isn't great. It's the experience that you have with your friends, I guess, in a game where there's literally, it's like a Seinfeld episode. There's nothing. Like, it's a game about nothing. So yeah, there's sort of that. You guys got to remember, like, you can't just run with something and go, oh, well, crap said this or crap said that. I never said bottom line game of the year. I said it's a great multiplayer game, my favorite multiplayer game to play with friends. But at the same time, if you play that game alone, you're going to have a terrible time, and that's the truth of the matter. You will have a terrible time playing that game alone. There's no story to that game. If you're not playing with friends and you're not getting drunk and having fun, like, you're not going to have fun with that game. There's not a lot of content there. There's more now than there was, but it's not a great game per se, the way that people think of games. So you have to think of it also as it's just people's opinions, So it's not like, because I think it's a great multiplayer game because I can play it with friends, that everybody's going to feel that way. Because I totally get why people would think it sucks. Like, and I've said that a lot. I don't know why I get misquoted so much, but I've told people, I said, I can see why people think this game sucks really bad. I can see it. I think it's a good multiplayer game to play with friends, but I 100% agree and can see why people think it really sucks. So yeah, don't like misquote me or whatever. It's not a big deal, but I'm just saying, like, for me personally, and I haven't went back for a long time. I played a round with Xbot and stuff, and Mooch. We did the stories or whatever it was, and then I haven't gone back since. And basically, what happened with that was I got tired of playing the game when people started cheating. Like, we ran into people on PC and they had like these hacks enabled. At that particular point, I was like, man, this game, I'm not coming back to it till they fix it. They supposedly fixed it, but you go back and it wasn't fixed, and they still allow PC crossplay. You can't turn it off. So it's a problem. Yobo says the people who continue cheering Phil on and praising him for basically anything are damaging the Xbox brand far more than the Xbox haters. I agree with you 100%. Like, you can't sit there and kiss Phil's butt and be like, hey, he's doing a great job. Yeah, see, Rich remembers I said single player and was the games. I have never changed my stance on that. And listen, everybody's entitled to their own opinions, right? Like we all can change how we feel about things, right? Like you guys got to understand that. Like how you feel about something right now, you might not feel differently. I'll give you a good example, and this goes into my personal life. You know, when I first got married, right? And I was like 19, 20 years old. You know, I was totally unprepared for that, right? But now that I'm in my 30s, and I'm getting married again, I'm a different person than I was then. Like, you know what I mean? So if you're the same person now as you were a couple years ago, you probably haven't learned anything in a couple years. For me personally, and I've said this multiple times, and I guess people are going to get tired of hearing it, I'm not a flip-flopper. Microsoft is the flip-flopper. They're the ones that came out and were all about games, games, games. And you can go back and look at it. Hey, we got games, games, games. And now they're like, services and cloud streaming and all this crap and PC that I don't care about as a console gamer. If their studios can actually put out great games, then I'll play them. And I think that's awesome. And I hope that they do that. If they can't put out great games, then I don't really know what to say because I want to play great games and I want to play them sooner rather than later. You know what I mean? I hope that it's a game that that they can put out some fantastic games. My main concern with the games that they're going to put out or whatever is when can these studios actually make games, because a lot of them are stuck making multiplats right now. And I've said this multiple times. You guys are probably tired of hearing it, but it's true. Like they're making Outer Worlds. That's what Obsidian's making. They actually have a contract where they have to make Outer Worlds 2 if that company wants them to. And, and that would be a multiplat. So at what point is that company, what point is Obsidian going to go all in making Xbox console exclusives? Like, that's my thing. And I don't really think that inXile or Double Fine or Compulsion Games are big studios that are going to make big games. I think they're going to make Game Pass style games. And I think inXile is more of a PC pickup than anything because they make PC games like Wasteland and Bard's Tale and stuff. Even though they come to console, they don't really translate well to console. And so I don't think that they were bought to draw people to the Xbox. I think they were bought to draw people to PC, just like I think Obsidian might have been. Like Obsidian did they do some kind of isometric RPG as well. Pillars of Eternity and Pillars of Eternity 2. I think that those particular ones were bought to help the PC side of things. So, we have to kind of keep that in perspective when we kind of go forward with this stuff. So, that's why I say, I'm kind of with a grain of salt. I take all this stuff in terms of what their studios are going to do, because if you actually do think about it, Compulsion Games did We Happy Few, but what have they done that's really been successful? Nothing. Undead Labs, they've done the State of Decay games. They're going to make a third State of Decay game. I can hardly wait for that because I like the first two so much, huh? Actually, the first one I enjoyed quite immensely. The second one might have been my biggest disappointment of the generation with everything that they promised. A AAA game, co-op with your friends. There was no story in it. It was just like these random events that happened. You can't advance your game at all being in your friends' games. So yeah, like I'm completely disappointed in that. And I like Sea of Thieves or whatever, but it's like Rare now they're gonna do another multiplayer only game. So cool, I guess. But like I was hoping to get a Rare type game, like maybe something with a single player. Is that wrong to want a single player game from Rare or something with it? It can have multiplayer, but why not have some single player element as well? Like, why does everything got to be a game as a service for Microsoft? I don't understand that. So that's a bit disappointing for me as well. Just in my opinion anyway. Dual Purpose says you deserve great games. We all do. Exactly, man. We all want great games. Hit the like button. I appreciate it. Rich says from DRM back in 2013 to Game Pass revenue down in 2019. It can't get worse for Microsoft. I hope they 180 in 2020 next gen. Well, here's the thing. How can they're looking at things as a positive, or at least they're spinning it that way, which is really bad for their fanboys. Like their hardcore fanboys like run with that stuff. Like, well, who cares, because they're still making money, but they aren't anymore. I mean, they obviously weren't making as much as the previous year. So that's a bit of a problem. I just feel like, they just give their fans stuff to cling on to damage control for them. It's not really, I don't think they're going to really do extremely well. Oh, Dave GX says you dipped on Microsoft, not Microsoft on you. So, Dave, let me ask you this. So when I bought an Xbox One because they had great exclusives, And Phil said that we were in it to win it, and they wanted to win and beat Sony. And he believed that Xbox owners were first-class citizens. And they went from that to not making any exclusives and putting everything everywhere and not even talking about the Xbox and only talking about PC and xCloud. So that was me flip-flopping. I would love to know, you know, exactly. Like, I'm sure you won't have a response from that. He says Microsoft has nothing to flip from. They have nothing to flip from. How about making games to not making games? Dog of War says, I like State of Decay 1 and 2 a lot, but it's unacceptable that 2 wasn't AAA after the devs said it was going to be so much potential wasted. Exactly. So the main thing that I would always be saying is you haven't coming online on Xbox. I've been coming on Xbox Live. It's like I have to appear offline sometimes because people harass me or whatever, but it is what it is, So Ray says they've had 2 exclusives that really matter and you can't stay afloat on Gears and Halo. This is the problem, right? Because if you say that, people will go, but people really love Uncharted and God of War and these games on PlayStation, and they really love like Mario and Zelda on Nintendo. The big difference between Mario and Zelda and God of War and these games on these different platforms is the fact that they have other games spaced out there. So it's not like that's all you get, right? So you have to keep that in mind, that they've spaced their games out extremely well. And that's a proven fact. If you're spacing out your games, then it's not as much strain on your main tentpole franchises. So Microsoft has these tentpole franchises, but that's all they tend to put any money into or put out. So it's like if it's not Gears, Halo, or Forza, they don't put any money into it, and they just don't seem to care. So hopefully in the future, they can actually go out and do something with some of these other franchises, right? Like we didn't get any sequels. Let's be honest. We didn't get any sequels that we wanted sequels to. I think most of us would have liked to see a Rise 2, see what they could have done with that. I think most of us would have liked to see a Sunset Overdrive 2, where they could have gone with that. We would have liked to see a Quantum Break 2, where they could have gone with that. We're never going to see that. That stuff's never happening. So what sequels will we get? Are they going to come out with a game that's sequel worthy? Is it really, are we only ever going to get sequels to games that, to games that are either small or the big 3, Halo, Gears, and Forza, right? Like, I feel like we deserve a little bit better than that, and people don't seem to understand it. Some Maestro says flip flopper, it's called upgrading. Man, I like PlayStation, man. They satisfy that big AAA game need that I want, man. It's not to say that I'm not looking forward to Gears, because I think Gears can be a fine game, but it's just like there's only so many Gears that you could play, and it's like maybe they went this kind of woke way with this one, and now it's a different kind of character that's leading. I'll know for sure after I play the game, but I have no expectations going into this Gears. I think the multiplayer could be tight, but I'm not going to spend any time in the multiplayer until you can turn off the crossplay. So hopefully Microsoft actually pays attention and gets rid of that kind of. Give us the option. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to dump crossplay, but why not give us the option to not crossplay if we don't want to crossplay, right? Like you talk about, we're living in the age of options. Give us the options to actually go out and do those type of things. And I think that's what I'm asking for, and that's what most people. Hold on. Rapture says, Crapgamer is wrong again. The Xbox is in fact far superior in every way over PlayStation. Hold on. Are you talking about the Xbox or the Xbox One X? Because the Xbox One X is technically a more powerful platform than the PlayStation 4 Pro or the PlayStation 4. But if you're talking about software or AAA games, exclusives, the Xbox is far outclassed by the PlayStation 4. Far outclassed. If you talk about online, you could say that the Xbox is better. But I would say PlayStation is not as bad as what a lot of people think. And PlayStation also doesn't allow you to play competitively in a first-person shooter or a third-person shooter against people on a PC, because that would be a massacre. So even though Microsoft might have technically better online, at least Sony's not screwing up and saying, hey, let's throw our fan base to the wolves and let them get slapped around by PC players. So I think it really depends on how you kind of convey that. And you have to remember that the majority of Xbox owners don't own an Xbox One X. They own either a launch Xbox One or an S. So you got to keep that in mind as you kind of listen, kind of decide what you want to do for yourself. So, Arctic Werebear says crossplay is fine and dandy, but it should be an option, not forced. Exactly my point. I don't think it's fine and dandy. I don't really particularly like getting my ass kicked by somebody with a mouse and keyboard. Maybe you do, but for me personally, it's not something that I want to do. Low End Average Gaming says, I hear you on not wanting to be bugged too much. I would love to chat with you sometimes, but I don't want to press it and become a pest. I listen to, I mean, I message most people. If they message me, I'll take the time to message them back on the platforms. Just sometimes I don't have as much time as I used to. So, I try to do what I can. Yeah, Billy Gunn says the X is the worst selling console this gen. It's powerful and multi-plats look good, but Microsoft hasn't taken advantage of their own console, and that's that's a problem. Like why haven't we seen anything? You know what I mean? So why haven't we seen something that really takes advantage of what the X has? That's my only problem right now. So I really would. You do know that it's the end of the console's life cycle, so people will want to save up for the new one. Steven, aren't they saving up for the next Switch or the next PlayStation as well? So why aren't those consoles dropping by 50%? You know? That's all I'm saying. Like it's total damage control to just go, well, that's normal, 50%, right? Like PlayStation's going to announce their numbers soon, and it's not going to be 50%. I can promise you that. You know, um, Yobo says none of the studios Microsoft bought are AAA or high pedigree. They could probably studios like Remedy, Crytek, Gearbox, IO, Bungie, and or Insomniac. Yeah, you know what? Obsidian could be decent. Outer Worlds isn't my thing because it looks like Fallout in space. Playground Games is great, though. So I'll have to disagree with you a little bit. I think Playground Games is great. Obviously, think about where we would be without Playground Games this generation as Xbox fans. We'd have no Horizon series, and those exclusives would really look bad. So I do think Playground is really great. The initiative could be great, but those and Ninja Theory could be great. So there's three there that could be really great. The rest, I agree, aren't anything special, kind of on the last leg. So. Xbox One X is a beast, according to Tim Dog. I like Tim Dog, but I mean, these guys that defend Xbox, they're gonna, they have the right to. They can love Xbox. I don't hate Xbox. I just wish that they would put out games. I hit that breaking point where I saw Phil up there announcing another console with no new AAA IP, and I just sort of kind of flipped my stuff, man. I was like, huh, you know. I want to see games. That's what I want to see. Without the games, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. My internet kind of crashed or whatever, because I got some bad storms going on. So I think I'm going to, I think I'm going to end it before it crashes again, because there's a lot of lightning and stuff going around. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys checking out the podcast and the stream and stuff like that. Like I said, like it, share it out, all that kind of good stuff. I would really appreciate it. Again, I appreciate you guys taking some time to spend with me on a Sunday. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the tech test. I'm going to jump back in it here in a little bit if the power stays on. Appreciate it, you guys. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out. Later.